So these are the question words that we have learned so far. Ano means what. Bakit means why. Saan means where. Okay? And this is where we're going. We're going to see what these other ones mean. Now, we're going to talk about kailan. Kailan means when. When. So if you want to use it in a question, it would be kailan ang, and then a noun. Kailan ang kaarawan mo? When is your birthday? Kailan ang kaarawan mo? Sa March ang kaarawan ko. My birthday is in March. Sa March ang kaarawan ko. Kailan ang handaan? When is the gathering? When is the party? Sa Sabado ang handaan. The party is on Saturday. And again, you don't have to add this part at the end. You could just say sa Sabado. Kailan ang handaan sa Sabado? But the longer response, kailan ang handaan sa Sabado ang handaan? Okay, so those are the different ways you can use kailan. There's this word sa again, and in this case, it's being translated as on or at a certain time. So that's where, or that is the leading word in your responses. Next, you can use kailan with a verb. So, kailan aalis si Nadine? When is Nadine leaving? Kailan aalis si Nadine? Aalis si Nadine bukas. Nadine is leaving tomorrow. Aalis si Nadine bukas. So, this is just a phrase, and you use the conjugation patterns that we learned, and then you just answer. So depending on what the question is, just make a statement using that correct tense of the verb. Kailan dumating sina nanay at tatay? When did mother and father arrive? Kailan dumating, so kailan plus a verb, sina nanay at tatay? Dumating sila kahapon. They arrived yesterday. So here, sina is a sentence marker that's indicating mother and father, whereas sila is the pronoun that replaces them. So if we were going to say nanay and tatay in the response, we would use sina again. For example, dumating sina nanay at tatay kahapon. But if we're just using the pronoun, it's dumating sila kahapon. Okay, so that's how you would use kailan in a verb. So there are the different sentence markers when you are using a name in your question. When it's one person, it's si. Kailan aalis si Nadine? When it's more than one person, it's sina. Kailan dumating sina nanay at tatay? All right, then you could do kailan plus a pronoun plus a verb. Kailan ka uuwi? When are you going home? Kailan ka uuwi? So there's kailan, there's the pronoun, there's the verb. We're just following the pattern here. Then, uuwi ako mamaya. I am going home later. Uuwi ako mamaya. Another example, kailan sila ikakasal? When are they getting married? Kailan sila ikakasal? Ikakasal sila sa susunod na buwan. They are getting married next month. So hopefully you're recognizing some of this vocabulary from our previous lessons. So we're pulling those patterns of conjugation and the vocabulary words from those lessons, and now we are using them in like a hypothetical conversation, right? So it's all building on each other. Now I want to show you the responses. The response might have the word nung or sa. We already talked about sa. Let's see what nung means. So nung means something happened in the past. Sa means something will happen in the future. So for example, kailan sila ikakasal? When will they get married? The response, sa susunod na buwan, next month. So, sa July or sa June, in June or in July. But sa is thinking of the future. When are they getting married? Next month or in June, in July. So, sa is the future. However, nung is talking about the past. So, kailan sila ikinasal? So, that's the past tense conjugation of to get married. They got married when? Nung nakaraan buwan. So, last month. Or nung February, nung January. So, last February, last January. So, that's the difference there. Sa versus nung. Okay? And there's the emphasis there. And here are just some other ways to use kailan. Kahit kailan, that's just an expression meaning anytime, whenever. So maybe someone is inviting you to eat out for dinner. They're like, oh, when are you available? When can you go out for dinner? You're like, kahit kailan, anytime. Or hanggang kailan means until when. So maybe your car is broken, it's in the shop. They're like, oh, you have to keep the car here. And you're like, hanggang kailan? Until when? How long does it have to stay here? And then next, kailan nangyari yun? When did that happen? Kailan nangyari yun? Nangyari means happened, and then yun means that. Kailan nangyari yun? And then just a pronunciation tip, it's pronounced kailan, kailan, but you will often hear it pronounced kailan, kailan. Kailan ang kasal? Kailan ang kasal? But it's not wrong to hear kailan ang kasal. It's a little bit more formal. Okay. So here are some examples. On the top left here, you will see the kailan rule. So kailan plus ang plus a noun. Kailan ang kaarawan mo? Kailan plus a verb? Kailan aalis si Nadine? Kailan plus a pronoun plus a verb. Kailan ka uuwi? When are you going home? And then here are the examples I want us to practice. Number 1, when is your vacation? Bakasyon is vacation. So let's just follow, I think it would be rule number 1. Kailan ang bakasyon mo? So, kailan, then the word ang, then the noun, which is vacation, and then the pronoun. Kailan ang bakasyon mo? The response, sa susunod na linggo ang bakasyon ko. Next week. My vacation is next week. So, a couple things I want to point out in the response. It should have the word sa because it's talking about the future, right? It will be next week, so there's sa. And then just try to remember how to phrase things. And if you weren't able to watch or if you don't remember the past lessons, just go from here and just copy my sentence structures. Okay, so moving forward when you answer these questions, see if you can follow these sentence structures. Okay, so go ahead and pause the video now, and then we will go over the examples in just a minute. Okay, so number 2, when are you leaving? Aalis means leaving. Kailan ka aalis? That's just rule number 3. Kailan plus the pronoun plus the verb. Kailan ka aalis? The response, aalis ako sa Lunes. Aalis ako sa Lunes. So there's sa because it's a future action. Number 3, when did Tony come back? Bumalik means came back. Kailan bumalik si Tony? So this is rule number 2. Kailan plus a verb. Kailan bumalik? And then you add si Tony. The response, bumalik si Tony kahapon. He came back yesterday. Bumalik si Tony kahapon. Number 4, when did you buy that? Binili means bought. Kailan mo binili yan? Kailan mo binili yan? So that's rule number 3. Kailan plus the pronoun plus the verb. Kailan mo binili? Yan. Binili ko yan nung isang linggo. Or binili ko ito nung isang linggo. I bought that last week or I bought this last week, depending on how you want to answer your question. Number 5, when are you going to sleep? Matutulog means will go to sleep. So, kailan ka matutulog? This is just rule number 3. Kailan plus a pronoun plus a verb. Kailan ka matutulog? Matutulog ako mamaya. Matutulog ako mamaya. I know it can get a little tricky figuring out which structure to use, and then when there's a pronoun or when there's like added information that has to be added to the end. I know it can get tricky, but use these examples to see the patterns in use and then try to use them in the future. Okay, so don't get bogged down if you're not getting the answers right. Really just use this as another form of learning, right? It's okay if it's not correct yet, but I want you to see how they are being used. Okay, so the next question word we are going to learn is sino, and that means who. Sino. So these are the different ways sino is used. Sino plus the word ang, then it's a verb, a noun, or an adjective. So it's easy because you just have to use sino ang, and then you just fill in the end with a verb, noun, or an adjective. Sino ang kumakanta? Singing. Who is singing? Sino ang kumakanta? Ang kumakanta ay si Mario. Si Mario ang kumakanta, or kumakanta si Mario? Si Mario. I wanted to show you all the different ways a response could be made. So, sino ang kumakanta? Who is singing? This first example is formal. Ang kumakanta ay si Mario. This next one is a little bit formal as well. Si Mario ang kumakanta. Si Mario ang kumakanta. That's kind of formal. This one is casual. Kumakanta si Mario. Mario is singing. Kumakanta si Mario. And then this last one is just a short answer. So, si Mario. Who is singing? Mario. So those are the different ways you can say Mario is singing. Those are the different responses. And then there is the word that has to be in the answer. Si. Because we're asking about a person, your answer has to have si or sina if it's more than one person. We'll see that. So now if you are going to fill it in with a noun, sino ang mga magulang mo? Mga magulang means parents. Sino ang mga magulang mo? Who are your parents? Ang mga magulang ko ay sina John at Mary. So that's what I was just saying. Si is for one person, sina is for more than one person. So, ang mga magulang ko ay sina John at Mary. My parents are John at Mary and Mary. Another way to say it is sina John at Mary ang mga magulang ko. Or sina John at Mary. So those are the different ways to say John and Mary are my parents. When in doubt, go ahead and just use the shortest answer. I don't want you to sound redundant, and then I also don't want you to have to think of too many vocabulary words or an extended sentence structure. So just answer it with the shortest answer because it's still correct. Sino ang mga magulang mo? Sino John at Mary. And then, if it's an adjective that you're asking about, it would be sino ang, and then the adjective. Sino ang pagod? Pagod means tired. Who is tired? Sino ang pagod? Ang pagod ay ang mga bata. The kids are tired. Ang pagod ay ang mga bata. That one's formal. Next, ang mga bata ang pagod. Ang mga bata ang pagod. That is also formal. Or, pagod ang mga bata. Pagod ang mga bata. That one is casual. That is what I would say a lot more than the other two. And then the short answer, ang mga bata. Sino ang pagod? Ang mga bata, the kids. The kids are tired. So those are the different ways to say the kids are tired. Now, let's take a look at the responses. Si and sina. Si is for one person. Sina is for multiple people. So an example, kumakanta si Mario. Si Mario, because it's just one person. Versus kumakanta sina Mario at Jane. Mario and Jane are singing. So sina is used because there's more than one person. Now you can also respond with a pronoun. So sino ang pagod? Who's tired? You can say ako, me, ako. Or sino ang pagod? Siya. Him, he is, siya. Sino ang pagod? Ikaw, you. You are tired, ikaw. So you can just respond with a pronoun. So I would say that, like, sino ang pagod? Ako. Just say ako. Keep it easy, right? And then here are the different pronouns. So ako is I, siya, he or she, so that's gender neutral. Sila, they. Ikaw, you, singular. Kayo, you all, plural. Tayo is we inclusive. That's you and me, all of us. We are all tired. Maybe we all ran a race together. We are all tired. Pagod tayo. And then pagod kami, me and my husband Chris, we ran. Only us, we did. So pagod kami, we are tired. Not you. I'm just telling you about it. Okay? Now here are other ways sino is used. Sino siya? Who is he? Who is she? Sino siya? The response, siya si Pat. She is Pat, or that is Pat. Sino ito? Who is this? Sino ito? Ito si Pat. This is Pat. Ito si blank. Sino yun? Who's that? Sino yun? Yun si Pat. That's Pat. Or sino ka? Who are you? Sino ka? The response, ako si Pat. Now, I do want to say, you really shouldn't say sino ka if you want to be polite. Sino ka is kind of rude or just a little blunt. Like, sino ka? Who are you? So it would be more polite to say, sino po kayo? So for one thing, add po to be respectful. And then when you're adding po, you have to use the plural you pronoun. So kayo, sino po kayo? That's a lot more polite instead of saying sino ka. If you want to ask, who are you again? Sino po kayo? And then just a pronunciation tip. If you have sino ang in a question, you might hear sinong. So they put it together. So sinong kumakanta? Who is singing? Sinong kumakanta? Instead of sino ang kumakanta, it's sinong kumakanta. Okay? Now let's practice some translations when we're using sino in a question. So sino ang plus a verb, noun or object or adjective. And here are the examples there. And let's do number 1 together. Who is taking a shower? Naliligo means to take a shower or taking a shower. So it would be sino ang naliligo. Sino ang plus the verb. Sino ang naliligo? Easy, right? The response, si George ang naliligo. Si George ang naliligo. Or the simplest answer, si George. Si George. But you have to add si or si na because that is the indicator of a person. You have to add that in your response. So go ahead and take a minute, pause the video now. You finish the examples and then we'll go back and do them together. Okay, welcome back. Let's do number 2. Who is your sibling? Sibling in Tagalog is kapatid. Sino ang kapatid mo? So kapatid is a noun. So sino ang kapatid mo? The response, kapatid ko si Sam. Kapatid ko si Sam. Or it could be si Sam ang kapatid ko. Si Sam ang kapatid ko. Remember, there are different ways to respond. Number 1, we said, si George ang naliligo. It could have also been, naliligo si George. So again, you can look back at the different ways a response can be made. When in doubt, just say the shortest answer. So this one could have been, si Sam. Sino ang kapatid mo? Si Sam. Number 3, who is scared? Natatakot is scared. Sino ang natatakot? Who is scared? Natatakot ang mga bata. Kids are scared. The kids are scared. Natatakot ang mga bata. Number 4, who cooked dinner? Nagluto is cooked. Hapunan is dinner. Who cooked dinner is sino ang nagluto ng hapunan. So that's just sino plus ang plus a verb. Sino ang nagluto ng hapunan. Nang is the sentence marker before the noun. Si Lola ang nagluto ng hapunan. Lola cooked the dinner. Si Lola ang nagluto ng hapunan. And then last example, who called? Tumawag is called. Sino ang tumawag? Sino ang tumawag? So it's just the verb. Tumawag ang nanay mo. Your mother called. Tumawag ang nanay mo. Or the simplest response, ang nanay mo. Okay, so try to keep it simple when you can, but hopefully you can see the patterns that you can use when you're making a question and then answering a question. All right, the next question word that we are going to learn is kanino. Kanino means whose. Kanino. It could be used like this. Kanino, then the word ang, then the noun, then na, and then an adjective. I know that's a lot. Let's take a look at it in action. So, kanino ang sombrero na itim? Whose black hat? Kanino ang sombrero is hat, na itim. Itim means black. Now the response. Kay Jacob ang sombrero na itim. The black hat belongs to Jacob. And I want to move forward and then we're going to go back and make everything make sense. Okay, so the next sentence structure or question structure would be kanino ang plus the noun plus na and then a demonstrative pronoun. So it's similar to this previous structure. Instead of an adjective though, it's going to be a demonstrative pronoun. So kanino ang sombrero na ito? So whose hat is this? Whose hat is this? Kanino ang sombrero na ito? And the response, kay Jacob ang sombrero na iyan. That's Jacob's hat. Okay, so hopefully you can see here, there's just this pattern of kanino, then the noun, ang plus a noun, na, it's like a sentence marker. Again, sometimes it doesn't have a direct translation, but it's like the linking word for the adjective or for the pronoun. And then just a pronunciation tip, kanino ang can be put together in a contraction. It would be kaninong. Kaninong sombrero na itim. Or kaninong sombrero ito. All right, when using the contraction though, you drop the na if there's a demonstrative pronoun. So kaninong sombrero ito, you wouldn't say kaninong sombrero na ito. So that's just one thing. It's kind of redundant when you add the na again. So just to respond, you would use an ownership marker, then the person, then the word ang, then the noun, then na iyan. So let's see what that would look like. Kanino ang bahay na iyan? Whose house is that? Kanino ang bahay na iyan? Here are the different ownership markers. So one of these has to be in your response. If there's only one owner, it's kay, kay. If there's multiple owners, it's kina, kina. More than one person, it's kina. If there's not a person, if there's no one's name, then you would have to use sa, sa. So it's an improper noun or an unnamed person. So we'll see what that would look like. So an example here, kanino ang bahay na iyan? Whose house is that? Or kaninong bahay yan? If it's just one person, it would be Kay Rose ang bahay na iyan. Kay Rose yan. So we are using kay because it's just Rose. It's just one person, Rose. Versus if there's multiple owners. So kaninong bahay yan? Whose house is that? Kina Mike at Ana ang bahay na iyan. Or kina Mike at Ana yan. That is Mike and Anna's house. So I want to point out there's kina. That is when you would use kina when there's more than one person owning that thing. Now, kanino ang bahay na iyan? Whose house is that? Sa kapatid ko ang bahay na iyan. That is my sister's house. That is my sibling's house. Sa kapatid ko ang bahay na iyan. Or sa kapatid ko yan. That is my sister's. That is my siblings. So you see how the person is unnamed? It's just kind of an improper noun. It's like a general answer. So that is when you would use sa. When the person is unnamed. It's just like a person in general speaking. Okay? So here are some more ownership pronouns that you could use when answering a kanino question. So, akin means mine. Iyo means yours singular. Kanya means his or hers. Inyo means your plural. Maybe it's your house, bahay ninyo, or inyo. And then atin is our inclusive. Amin is ours, me and my husband, Chris. And then kanila is theirs. So here's an example of how to use that. Kanino ang bahay na iyan? Whose house is that? Akin yan. That's mine. Akin yan. Or inyo yan. That's yours. You all live in one house. Inyo yan. That's your house. Or kanila yan. That's their house. Kanila yan. Okay, so that's how to use these ownership pronouns. I want to show you, let's go back to the first example we learned. I know it's a lot of words in this one. So, kanino ang sombrero na itim? Whose black hat is this? So, sombrero is hat, itim means black. But they are interchangeable. Like you can switch them around and it would still mean the same thing. For example, kanino ang itim na sombrero? So instead of saying, kanino ang sombrero na itim, you might hear, kanino ang itim na sombrero? So in Tagalog, you can switch the adjective and the noun around and it will still make sense. And why does that happen? It probably just goes back to baybayin or to the evolution of Tagalog in general. So the adjective and the Tagalog vocabulary word can be interchangeable and they mean the same thing. Another example, kanino ang sombrero na pula? Pula means red. So whose red hat is this? You can switch it up and it could be kanino ang pula no sombrero? So we just switched it. But I want to show you that when you switch it, you can make a contraction, meaning you can put pula and na together. And now it would be kanino ang pulang sombrero? Whose red hat is this? Okay, so those are the two things I want you to get out of this slide. First, you can switch the adjective and the noun. So you can switch them in the question and it will still make sense. Second, when your adjective ends with a vowel like pula, then you can make the contraction. Add ng to the end. Instead of saying pula na sombrero, it's pulang sombrero. Pulang sombrero. We can't do that with the word itim because it ends with a consonant. There's nothing to put together. It would still have to stay itim na sombrero. Okay, so to respond to this question, kanino ang sombrero na pula? It would just be, kay Mary ang pulang sombrero. That is Mary's hat, or that hat belongs to Mary. Kay Mary ang pulang sombrero. Okay, so your response has to have the ownership marker, kay, because it's one person, and then you can add the rest of the phrase. But remember, your simplest answer would be kay Mary, kay Mary. Now, let's practice using kanino in a question. So, kanino ang plus a noun plus na plus the adjective. Or, kanino ang plus a noun plus na plus the demonstrative pronoun. Kanino ang sombrero na ito versus kanino ang sombrero na itim. And then the response has to have the ownership marker. Remember, kay or kina or sa. Then it's the person. Then it's ang, noun, na, iyan. Or you could just use the simplest answer. Let's take a look at these examples. Whose house is the big one? Whose house is the big one? Malaki means big. Bahay means house. It would be kanino ang, then it's the noun bahay, na malaki. So whose house is the big one? Kanino ang bahay na malaki? The response, here's another way to say it. Kanino ang malaking bahay? So this just goes back to the previous slide. Remember, the adjective and the noun can be switched. And if the adjective ends in a vowel, then you can make a contraction. Malaking bahay. Instead of malaking na bahay. Malaking bahay. And then the response would be, that's it. The response is actually example number 2. So pause the video now, answer the rest of these questions, and then we will go through it. Okay, welcome back. Number 2, that is Teddy's house. It would be, kay Teddy ang bahay na malaki na yan. Or kay Teddy ang malaking bahay na iyan. Or the simplest answer, kay Teddy. Kay Teddy. Okay, so see if you can recognize kind of where the noun would go, where the adjective would go, and then see that you can switch them up and it would still make sense. Next, number 3, whose child is that? Child in Tagalog is anak. Kanino ang anak na iyan? Kanino ang anak na iyan? So that's rule number 2. Kanino plus ang plus noun plus na plus the demonstrative pronoun. Or, kaninong anak yan? Kaninong anak yan? This second part is how it would be pronounced. I just want to show you how it would be pronounced. It's not technically the correct spelling of things, but that's how you would hear it or say it quickly. Kaninong anak yan? Whose child is that? Number 4, that is Chris and AJ's child. Kina Chris at AJ ang anak na iyan. Kina Chris at AJ ang anak na iyan. I want to point out kina, that is the ownership marker that you use when there's multiple people. And then the short answer, kina Chris at AJ. Kina Chris at AJ. Number 5, whose cell phone is this? Kanino ang cellphone na ito? So that's following sentence structure number 2. Kanino ang, the noun is cell phone, na, ito is the demonstrative pronoun. And just quickly speaking, someone might say, kaninong cell phone ito? Kaninong cell phone ito? So the na is dropped usually. Whenever someone is speaking quickly, the na is dropped. But I want to point out that technically there is a na. I don't think I would be a very good teacher if I didn't tell you the correct technology, like the technically correct way to say these things. But in colloquial speaking or in common conversation, the na is dropped. Kaninong cell phone ito? And then the response, that is my cousin's cell phone. Cousin in Tagalog is pinsan. Sa pinsan ko ang cell phone na iyan. So I want to point out sa is the ownership marker that you use because it's not a specific person, right? The person is unnamed. So sa pinsan ko ang cell phone na iyan. Or just in common conversation, you might hear, sa pinsan ko yan, sa pinsan ko yan. Or even the shortest answer, sa pinsan ko, sa pinsan ko. Okay?